So we have a double Parashat. Tazria, Metzora. Tazria, Metzora. Like,
yeah, I know.
Tazria, Metzora. But it has to do something with that. It has to do something with that.
Said it.
Yeah, it has to do something with that. Of course, Sadiq. So, one of the last creations in the creation of the world were Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, Adam and Eve. According to Chazal, the Medrash tells us that Adam and Chava sinned the day in the Chet with Etz Hadat, and then they got kicked out of Gan Eden. I mean, if you come to think about it, it's really crazy. And for crying out loud, they couldn't wait like a few minutes. So they sinned, and they were kicked from Gan Eden. However, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has rachamim on them, and he had a plan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu postponed the exile from Gan Eden, the expulsion from Gan Eden in one day. And he wanted them to stay in Gan Eden for Shabbat, for Shabbos. And when Shabbat ended, and it was their time to leave Gan Eden, and it was, the world outside is dark, because it was Motzai Shabbat. Kadosh Baruch Hu had rachamim on them, and he taught them how to light a fire, how to use fire. Not Samal Rishon, not decay. B'miluim. So he taught them how to make the man of his words. He taught them how to make the fire, and that's one of the reasons, not the only reason, one of the reasons why we make Havdalah on fire on Shabbat, and we say, of course, Borei Meorei Ha'esh, and so on and so forth. Not only I know but I'm not talking about this now. Not only to symbolize the end of Shabbat, but also that we are starting. One of the ideas is that we're starting the melachot of the week. The days of the melacha, the days of labor that we are allowed to do, with the fire in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu taught us. And I mean, there's a very, very important point here that we can just talk about this point for an hour now, about how everything, all the knowledge that we have comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything that we do in the world as a result of that, and so on and so forth. But there is another deep idea here that we'll touch later on into that. So, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu taught us to do so everything is done with the help and with the guidance and with the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and with the fire of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's just a patiach, just an opening. The main, some of the main concepts in this two weeks parashot are the issues of tum'ah and tara, purity and impurity, and so on and so forth. And there is an interesting point that it's a phenomenon that when a baby is born to the world, the baby is pure, and the mother is impure. And it's fascinating. The mother is impure, the baby is pure. We talk about Metzora, we're talking some other things, and so on and so forth. And that has to do also with the Chet of Adam HaRishon, and when one of the curses, quote unquote, that Chava had received was Betzar Tildi Banim. You should, giving birth is going to be a very laborious ordeal for you, and it's going to be quite painful. And sometimes it could even be, God forbid, death. People can die from that. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. It's very, very difficult. And which is very interesting, because life and death are wrapped together in one package. There's no such thing as life without death, and there's no such thing as death with no life. One is dependent on the other. I mean, which brings us to the point that if we'll live forever and we're not dying, so basically we're not living as well. Death has to do with life itself. Okay? So, and in the case of the Yoledet, the woman who just gave birth, the reason why she has tum'ah, impurity on her, is because of the blood that just came away from her. And we know that, we say hadam hu hanefesh. Not that the blood is the soul, but the soul is in the blood, or the livelihood of the. You have to go to.
Yetzirah.
That's it. No cigarettes. Yeah.
Try to not.
Okay. I'll give you a bracha be'ezrat Hashem. Your effort should be fruitful, and you should not smoke anymore.
Amen.
The only desire you're going to have is for good things and Torah.
Amen.
All right. So now, when a woman gives birth, what happens to her, and we spoke about it years before, the baby comes out. So there was a potential of life in her, and the life came out of her. Now there's a baby, but she experienced somewhat of a death, experience, because a great potential of life just came out of her, and there was blood, and there was a nefesh, and therefore the tum'ah, impurity, came upon her. And we do know that a dead person, is what we call avi avot tum'ah. He's on the highest level of impurity, and there's nothing more impure than a dead person. Since she went through the process of dying, and therefore anything else that is disconnected from its source of life becomes impure, becomes tameh. It's very important to remember. And of course, let me just open that and say, if the Torah chayenu ve'orech yamenu, and if the Torah is our life, etz chaim hi, v'machazikim ba, he who disconnected from the Torah, disconnected itself from makor mayim chayim, from a source of life, and chas v'shalom is spiritually dead. So you got to think about that. However, I would like to make a very, very strong and important point for you. That in order to choose life, and we say, and this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, I gave you life and death, good and bad, and so on and so forth, uvacharta b'chaim, and you chose good. And which is a very difficult concept to understand, but here is the point that maybe we could understand what it's written in the end, et Sefer Dvarim. In order to choose life, and at that point, in order to live life as well, you need to designate where life is, and life ends, and death starts, and so on and so forth. You need, in other words, to set the boundaries of life and to understand and acknowledge death. Otherwise, you won't know anything, and this is very important. So if we say that the value of life is the most important value that we have in Judaism, I mean, for that we even mechalel Shabbat, we desecrate the Shabbat to save somebody's life. The holiest thing that we have, holier than Yom Kippur and anything, Shabbat, is to save a person's life, we will do so. So if that's the most important thing, so therefore, anything that would do, that will cause a harm, will cause harm to life, whether it's to the body and so on and so forth, what we call negaim, that it is a part of a symbolism of death, and then we need to remove it. That's why, for example, a Metzora, a person tzara, and I don't want to use the term leprosy because it's somewhat inaccurate. There is a certain blemish of it, so therefore he should be removed from the camp because he's experiencing some form of death. So that needs to understand. We need to understand that it's not something that it's so clear. We really need to sit down and really contemplate on that a lot in order to understand this point. It's not so simple. There are people, there are cultures, societies, and so on and so forth, that for them, death is the value of life. They celebrate death. Even in Mexico, they have, Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead, right? They all wear the skeleton faces and so on and so forth. And so therefore the value of death is higher than the value of life. Dying is greater than living. And by the Jews, it's the other way around. Either if we talk about kamikaze in Japan, or lehavdil, to make the difference, suicide bombers and killing and so on and so forth. We as Jews, for us, it's just the other way around. Life is the number one priority. And there's cultures that for them death is the number one priority, and they celebrate death. That's why Judaism, when we Chas v'Shalom are mourning, we give you a certain period of time. We don't make a big party of that. It's just a week, 30 days, and then you go on to about your business. You should not obsess over that. The Torah is very, very against anything that is associated with death rituals. For example, we have what they call Doresh el Hametim, a person who will go to the death and will take a bone from, they say, of an orangutan and put it under his arm and start prophesizing. Or in India, where they have the Babas over there, they live in the cemeteries and they rub the skin with ashes of dead people and drink, from a skull of a person, they drink and they use. That's a ritual of death that is so repulsed to Judaism. These are the people, Ma'alim Ba'ov, all kind of, witchcrafts, that they speak to the dead and demons, I don't know, alcohol, whatever, and so on and so forth. The Torah says, no, it's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to have anything to do with people like that. And there is a complete designation between body and soul, right? Who helps us understand that death is not the end of the story. I mean, in terms of that, those people see that I can connect myself to the soul, and the soul is talking to me. And the Torah says we don't like that stuff. We don't like that stuff. According to us, that or lack of understanding of such a point, that there is life and there is death, is quite problematic. In Judaism, while a person is alive and the dead is dead. A dead person does not have feelings. For example, if a person dies on Shabbos, Chas v'Shalom, we cover up with something so he won't smell. You're not allowed to move him. He's a muktzah. He's like a rock. You can't move him. He doesn't have feeling. I've seen, I don't remember where it was, I think maybe in Papua New Guinea or something, one of those places in the Pacific, they don't bury their deads. They sit them, they feed them, they talk to them, they dress them. It is unbelievable. I mean, it's ridiculous. They don't bury their dead. For years. It's ridiculous. The Torah says, no, it is nothing. There's nothing to refer to the dead person. You don't talk to the dead person. You don't communicate with the dead person. He's dead. That's it, finished. Why? Because Judaism wants to make sure that all your resources are directed towards life, not towards death. And life means action. Light means something greater than maybe we'll see what it means. Therefore, stay away from the dead people. That's why Judaism by core is against all those rituals that in recent years, in the last, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years, have developed, going to cemeteries and falling on graves and doing all kind of crazy things like this. It's not in the spirit of Judaism. Going to Rav Nachman. I mean, those Breslovers are really out of their minds. And I'm going to tell you why they're out of their minds. I'm really serious. It really bothers me. And I'll tell you why it bothers me. So first of all, a kid can never daven with his dad, and a husband can never eat with his wife on Rosh Hashanah because he's going to Rav Nachman in Breslov in Ukraine. The Ukraine people were worse than Nazis. And you're giving millions of dollars for that. But forget about that. Forget about that. I just don't understand. You have Yerushalayim. You have the Kotel Maravi, the holiest place in the world. And you're going to a cemetery in Ukraine? I mean, what's wrong with you? You live in Yerushalayim and you're going to... Who told you can leave Yerushalayim altogether? Who said you can leave Eretz Israel? Or the Lubavitchers, another group of lunatics, going to graveyard, to the Rebbe, to communicate with the dead. That's pathetically wrong. That's mamash something foreign and repulsive to Judaism. You can't do that. Stay away from cemeteries. What are you, Sadhu Baba over there in India? You don't communicate. The dead person is dead. That has nothing to do with us. You should know that the Neshama, when he goes out, has nothing to do with us anymore. It's into the different world. It's so wrong to do those things. It's so much against Judaism to do it. The fundamental point of Judaism. And that's what we're talking about. And why is that? And look what Chazal tells us. What do we say in Hallel? Everything should concentrate to life. Lo hametim yehalleluya velo kol yehudei duma. Ma ze duma? Duma is Gehenom. Lo hametim. Now the dead person cannot praise God. And not those who went to Gan Eden, and not those who went to Gehenom. Va'anachnu nevarech ya. Our job in this world is to bring Leidei Kiddush Shamayim. Kiddush Shem Shamayim Barabim. To build, to do things. To be Mekadesh Shem Hashem. Not to deal with a dead person. We became almost pagans. You can't do it. You go to a grave of some guy who buried, okay, it's a big tzaddik. You ask him for a skula, you pray for him, please, tzaddik. You can do that. You want something? Speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You don't have to go to cemetery to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. What's wrong with these people? Because everybody does it. Everybody wants to be politically correct. Oh, we can't say things. People get insulted. Let them get insulted and let them fix their ways. You can't do it. Because if, imagine this, you know how many great tzaddikim are buried here in the United States? Or in Israel? All day long, I'll do grave hopping. I'm never going to accomplish anything. Grave hopping. And to build a mikvah in a cemetery is the most idiotic thing in the world. And we need to make a separation. The whole point of Judaism is to understand lehavdil ben kodesh lechol ben or lachoshech, to do separation, to be able to set boundaries in order for us to be able to operate. If I am flying a plane and I don't know the envelope of the plane, in other words, and what is the zone of the plane, is operational envelope, so I would not know what to do. Imagine I'm taking a C-130, a Hercules, right? A C-130, and I'm trying to fly like an F-16. It's not going to do it. Or I'm trying to tie things on F-16 like a C-130. It's not going to happen. I'm going to crash. So that's what we need to do, Havdalah. And Havdalah is something very important. People want to do Havdalah, chik-chak, yalla, 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 nigmor Havdalah, let's go, we're busy, we have things to do. Shabbat is late now, oof, 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 oof. You don't understand anything. Regarding the number 8, in in Chinese mythology, no, okay, we'll have to talk about Chinese now. The number 8 in Judaism represents many things. One of the things it represents is, of course, the supernatural, the fixing. And the candle of Havdalah, the Ner Havdalah, if you see many times, not all the times, but many Havdalah candles actually have 8 wicks in them. And the candle of Havdalah represents that the light of the 8th day. What does it mean, the light of the 8th day? The light of the 8th day, there was such thing as an 8th day. Even though we said there were only 7 days, but there was such thing as an 8th day. The 8th day is the day after they were expelled from Gan Eden. And that day symbolizes the beginning of human creativity. When mankind started to operate in God's world, with God's permission, of course. As much as HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened the first day of creation with the words, Vayehi O, and they want to be light, right? Vayehi O. So is the Havdalah candle, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu taught the people. The first thing that he taught them is how to make fire to be light, to have light. Human creativity is always, oh, Yoavinu, Shechianu v'keimaynu v'higiayni. How are you, Yoav? Practicing in the voice. American Got Talent. American Idol worshipping. X Factor. I'm XYZ Factor. Anyway, so I'm happy to see you here, Yoav. So the human creativity in the eyes of the Torah and Chazal is always grasped as the equivalent or parallel to the divine creativity. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, mankind can also create things. Of course, let's not get into this now, but also creates things. And it's a very important thing to understand. And the symbolism of this creativity, human creativity, is the number 8. Right? You know, there's a famous medrash in the Gemara about Rabbi Akiva and his arguments with the Roman general about why HaKadosh Baruch Hu made Brit Milah and so on and so forth. And we know that on the 8th day we do Milah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created. It's a very, very deep idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in such a way that would allow man to operate in it, to become a partner in creation. In other words, even the chet of Adam HaRishon, which is the capital of sin, in the eyes of Judaism, could be turned into something good. How? Kadosh Baruch Hu says, let's be partners. Let's be partners. I'm going to leave a little bit an intact, a little bit of an untapped part in the world in which you, men, can be a partners on it, so you could feel that this is also part of yours. You're going to be my junior partner in the world. And there's a tremendous responsibility that we as humans got, and even more so tremendous responsibility that we Jews got once we received the Torah, because it is therefore our job to guide the people to do what is expected for them in becoming a partner of God in creation of the world. In other words, now you can understand the concept of Bechadesh Betuvo Bechol Yom Tamid Maaseh Bereshit. Days of creation is happening every single day. How? At those original 7 days, it was God Himself. From this point on, HaKadosh Baruch Hu and mankind. But are we really working together? And that's what we need to ask. That's a task that each and every one of us should take upon himself, to ask and to question, am I taking care of my job? And my job is to become a partner in creation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to do things, to make this world into a better place. Not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created it imperfect because Chaz v'Shalom, a lack of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but rather HaKadosh Baruch Hu did a favor to us and allowed us to do the makeh b'patish, the little thing, the little hammer, less blow of the hammer to fix it, to call it a melacha. And not for nothing, the less melacha in 39 melachot is makeh bepatish. It's all connected, Rabotai. Don't think that the concept of creation is different than the concept in Tumah v'Tahara, or it's different than Shabbat. It's all connected. Our job is to find the connection. And as you could see, slowly, Baruch Hashem, we're doing this. And it's something for you to think about. This is also why the Mishkan, the Ohel, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, was also inaugurated on the 8th day. There is a complete correlation, and Chazal tells us, between creation of the world and building the Mishkan, because the Mishkan, we spoke about it many times before, symbolizes the universe and how things are arranged. We don't really know, but that's what the concept is. We could think about it, we could maybe recreate that idea, but that's what it was. It's a direct correlation of that. The Mishkan, in a way, as we say, was a microcosmos of the world, what we call Olam Bezer Ampin, a miniature world, or a miniature universe. And this is why Sefer Bereshit starts and Sefer Shemot ends in describing creation, of how it was. Sefer Shemot ends with the Mishkan, Sefer Bereshit starts with creation, with the universe, and that's exactly it. And the 8th day is the time in which we celebrate. We celebrate human contribution to creation, as we know in the Brit Milah. And maybe not for nothing, Hanukkah was also 8 days. And maybe not for nothing, Pesach is 7 days. And then we have something else after that, or Sukkot. What do we have after that? Isru Chag. Or Shmini Atzeret. Now you understand why Shmini Atzeret is a tremendous holiday that everybody forgets, because it's our holiday. Think about all these things. And we believe that all life and everything in life comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But beyond that, we even put this idea into our bodies. And that's why we do the Brit Milah on the 8th day, to symbolize the covenant of man and God. Not only Jews, of man and God. And that everything that the person enters the Brit because he's a Jew, however, he, as the partner in this covenant, needs to understand that he needs to act as well. Pe'ula, he needs to act. You're not just, to be a Jew is not just to be born to a Jewish mother. To be a Jew is also to act as a Jew. And of course, a Jew does mitzvot. And therefore a question will be asked, for a Jew who doesn't keep mitzvot, or doesn't practice the mitzvot, and doesn't act in that way, what does it really say about his life and his part in the covenant? Imagine you have a partner. Let's say you are the major partner, and he is the senior partner, and he's the junior partner, right? Let's say he has 10% and you have 90%, right? And you put all the work and you do his work, he doesn't do a thing. What are you going to tell him? What are you going to tell him? Hey, Habibi, well, I know we're partners, but you got to do something. You don't do 10% of the job. You need to give 100% of your job for your 10%. If not, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to make him. I'll dissolve my shares and your shares, and I'll give it to somebody else. You need to understand that. But this is why it's engraved in our body. That's why on the 8th day, when the baby is still a baby, on the 8th day we do it. We don't do it like the Arabs, whatever 13 or whatever age, or some Israelis now that just, I don't know, when he'll grow up, he'll do it. Who in the right mind will do it? Who in the right mind knows that? It's engraved in your body from your very beginning. You have to understand those things. And that's why there is something else also, right? And that's why it's done on the 8th day. And it's done on the 8th day for another very important reason. Because for the non-Jews, for the Gentiles, what do they have? How many mitzvot do they have? 7. Sheva mitzvot b'nei Noach. So in order to differentiate between the Gentiles and the Jews, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us Brit Milah on the 8th to separate us from the 7th. And you know, the Brit that of course he did with Noach, he did it on the was the symbolism of Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noach is the rainbow, right? But Kadosh Baruch Hu did not ask anything from Noach. He did not ask his agreement to this deal. He didn't ask him to do anything for him. But to the Jews, yes, because in Judaism there is a Judaism is a new concept in the world with which we make partnership with God. He acts together with us. To be a Jew is, again, the most important thing is to understand that you are part of a mutual covenant between you and God. HaKadosh Baruch Hu called us and we answer. He tells us to do something and we do it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts the job and our job is to finish. Or our job is to take it from there. And we need to understand that. So when you do what you do, you need to ask yourself, is that a part of the covenant that I made with God? Is that a part of the covenant? Is what I'm doing now part of what I'm expected to do as a human being or what I'm expected to do as a Jew? And by the way, you are expected as a Jew to attend a learning session every day. I don't care about your emergency. I mean, you know what's an emergency? I'll tell you what's an emergency. An emergency is your wife is giving birth or something of that. That's an emergency. Everything else is not an emergency. There's no such thing as a work-related emergency. There's no such thing. It can wait. Because that's not a part of what you are doing in this world. You are coming here when you're working, you're building for yourself. You're making your pockets full of money. You care about yourself. You don't care about your job as a Jew. You need to come here and learn. That's your number one priority. When you don't come to learn here, you are betraying the covenant. Not only Breslev, Shvichat Zera Levatalach, burning the covenant. This is not learning Torah, it's worse. This is your business. What's the difference between you and a guy? You have to come and learn. Kavua. Kavua, established, here. That's how we do Peulot. That's how we change the world. And we need to understand that for the nations of the world, especially the ancient nations of the world, but mainly to the nations of the world, God is in nature. I don't know, panyas and this, they're all the trees, the water. They're all deities that they are out there in the world. That's for the nations of the world. In Judaism, on the other hand, God is above nature. God is above nature. God is not nature. A waterfall is not God. A mountain is not God. That's why I don't worship mountains, and I don't worship rivers, and I don't worship trees or cows. God is above nature. And that's why not everything that is natural is good in our eyes. There are certain things that needs to be fixed. There are certain things that are not good. Certain things are natural to me as a person, and I know that are not good. And I need to control them. And that's the job that we have to do. The beauty of Judaism above other religions, and especially Christianity, is that God believes in man, and God believes that man can do good. In Christianity, you can't do anything good, especially Catholicism. In certain religions, you're not capable of doing anything. You are nothing. You are a speck of grain, I don't know, whatever, dust. In Judaism, HaKadosh Baruch Hu believes that we can do good. That's the concept of tshuva. That's the concept of many other things. We can do good. And that is a very, very important concept, again, which separates Judaism from other religions. That's the concept of the eighth day, in which the day HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent mankind to the world to become partners in creations. He sent us because he knew we are capable of doing the job. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us Torah because he knew we are capable of keeping it and learning it and handing it on. Now, when you don't learn Torah, when you don't keep mitzvot, you are basically telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, listen, buddy, you're wrong. And I don't care what you think. How dare you? How can you? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you're capable. So I'm sorry, I give up. It's not for me. You know better than God what you are capable of doing? Remember, I saw a clip, somebody sent me a clip a few months ago, a few years ago, I don't know, whatever time ago, about this guy that saw a Navy SEAL, and they talked to him and he says, listen, I want you to train him. So he came home and trained him, and that's, it's not just a story that I saw it. And the Navy SEAL comes to his house and says, okay, today we're going to start doing chin-ups. He says, okay, how much can you do? So he did 10. He said, today we're going to do 100. He says, it's impossible. I just did 10. So okay, go up again, go up again, go up again, go up again. At the end of the day, he did 100 chin-ups. You don't know what you're capable of doing. When you think that you reach a level, that's it, I can't do anymore, you know you are only at 40%. I can't do this anymore, I can't. You do push-ups, how much you did the 20? You can do 60% more. You can't run? Oh, you can run much longer. You can't learn, you're too busy. What do you mean you're too busy? Look at how much time are you wasting to do unnecessary things. You tell me you can't learn because you're too busy. How much time you spend on WhatsApp, on Instagram, on Twitter, and all kind of chazara you got to watch there. That's it, you have no time. You know better than God? And he chose you. Ibanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim. Otanu b'charta, you chose us. And he said, אני לא רוצה אותך. Are you playing with a full deck? Even on a 50-50 chance, even, chas v'shalom, but even on a 50-50 chance that there is God, well, the 50%, I don't want to deal with this. I'll keep it. I don't want to deal with this. I quit. I'm not taking this chance. Okay? And that's why I said to you before, you need to understand. You need to understand that there is life and there is death. There is pure and there is impure. You can't have chetzi, half. There's not a person who's half dead. We don't believe in zombies. Zombies are shtuyot that Hollywood created, and all the idiots in the world are obsessed with zombies. Zombies are not coming out of the graves. The shtuyot and nonsense. Come on. If you tell me you watch zombies movies, you're basically telling me I am a moron. Don't ever tell me something because you're a moron. But you need to understand that a value always has to deal with another value. A value is dependent on another value. There's 0 and 1. Value, another value. If it doesn't have another value, it has no meaning to that matter. If there is life, there is death. Without death, life means nothing. The problem is that you think you're going to live forever. You won't. I guarantee you that. Why aren't you acting like that? Why are you taking your time? You taking your time. Building buildings. Are you preparing yourself to the journey? Like imagine somebody tells you, listen, there's a I don't know, explosion in the Canary Islands over there, the volcano, and there's a tidal wave, a tsunami of 30 feet heading its way to the eastern seaboard. And you're saying, oh, when is it? Oh, they tell you it's going to be here in 10 hours. Oh, it's not a problem. Let me cut the grass a little bit. I cut the grass, I pull some weeds, I paint. Well, what are you doing? Time is ticking. You don't have time. You don't know where you're going to go. You got to be prepared. You need to make sure that you have the ticket. You have a ticket. What's your ticket? Did you live your life like a Jew? Or would you like to tell the rabbi all over, oh, you rabbi, oh, leave me alone with this? Did you act according to that? Did you act according to the fact that one day you're going to die? So therefore, why am I bothering all these things that I'm doing? Some people just like to create problems. Things are going okay, they create problems. Why? Bored. You bored? Listen, did you finish the Shas yet? When I finished the Shas, and I finish it again, and finish it again and again and again, and I did the Rambam, and I did all the Tu Bet Yosef, and I finished all the... Then I'll be bored. Until then, I have plenty to go. Believe me, there is more work for me to do than I have life. Even if I live to 200 years. Every day they put another book. So I'm going to never finish. Are you telling me you're bored? Let me ask you a question. Before you go to your next vacation to whatever, over there, you go to the Kolchoz in Dominican Republic or somewhere that you go. Let me ask you a question. Did you finish a Masechta in your life? You finish a tractate in your life? Have you finished anything Toradic in your life? You finished Mishnayot in your life? Did you read the Tanakh one time from beginning to an end? Read the Chumash that you read every year. Did you start from Yeshua and end up in Divrei Yamim? Did you? Well, why are you going to vacation? Vacation for what? You haven't done a thing yet. Think about that. You go on vacation, one person will cost you $2,000, $5,000. You know how many books you can buy for $5,000? One language you speak. I'll get you books for $5,000. You believe me. For what's one person? There's two people. Well, you can sit down with your son and you become a big scholar. But there's no excuse of spending money going on vacation. If you believe that there is God, if you believe that you're going to die, there's no time to chilling out on the beach in Copacabana or in Myrtle Beach or in, whatever they go, Cancun or whatever. There's no time for that. When you finish all the books here, you got to go to Cancun. Until then, there's no time. Yeah, that's your job. But we don't want to understand that. And you should know that there are prices, and the prices are not always light. And there is a ke'ev, there is pain of a person who becomes tameh, a muchak mina machaneh. They push him from push him from camp, or a person who is tameh, that becomes very, very difficult. And that's one of the reasons why we don't take a kohen who is blemished. A kohen that works in Beit HaMikdash doesn't need to be smart, it doesn't need to be handsome, it has to be shalem begufo, to symbolize life, because Beit HaMikdash is all about life. That's why we don't get a kohen who is missing a finger, or has some noticeable blemish, because he himself is missing something, certain lifehood from him. And that's why the Torah tells us, by definition, by telling us what is tahor and what is tameh, exactly what is tahor and what is tameh, and exactly how to purify yourself. The Torah tells you, listen, that's time for you to draw yourself back in, purify yourself, bring yourself up to life, and no wonder we tovel ourselves in the mikveh, in be'er mayim chayim. And that's why a spring, a bubbling brook, metaher bekol shiu, because it's live water, and it's a mikveh, symbolizes the womb of the mother, the rebirth, symbolizes olam haba. Water is chesed, purification. And when we know that and we understand that, the Torah is able to teach us how to choose life, to concentrate on a world that is a world of action, to build this world that is focused on life and not death. We love death. We love war. We love action movies, goring movies. We all like MMA, to see blood. That's not the Jewish way. And that's why it's very hard for us to stay pure. And that's why Torah tells us, "Ubacharta b'chaim," and you should choose life. And a person that lives life and is happy with them, and is happy with his life, with what he has, for as long as he lives. A person like this turns his back to death. A person that doesn't calls death, "Come, Habibi, bo, I want you." A person like this pushes away death from him as much as he can. And I want to finish with this, with some revolutionary thought that I saw from the Admor Migur, Rav Avraham Mordechai Alter, for you, Rebbe. It says, he asked, who did HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he created the world, says in first person, he said to him, Naaseh Adam betzalmenu. We should make a man in our image. Who is we, Kimosabi? Who is he talking to? In plural, as present. Who is he talking to? And he says a moradic word, an unbelievable word. I mean, it's so revolutionary. It is mind-boggling. He says the following. He answers and he says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told that Adam Atzmo. To Adam HaRishon he said that. Naaseh Adam betzalmenu u'v'dmutenu. In other words, he tells men, let's together, you and me, build Adam. I give you the neshama, you have the power of tshuva, we're going to together create a world. We're going to create an entity that is world to be called Adam. And that's something you need to ask yourself. Are you willing to become partners of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And that's why they say, Mi le'Hashem elai. Come to me. You should say, Mi le'Hashem, le'Hashem. Mi le'Hashem elai. Because we need all of us together to turn this world into a better place for the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sticks his hand to us. Hashivenu elecha v'nashuva. And he said to us, Shuvu elai banim shovevim. I'm here, just come to us. Don't just wait for me. Come, we'll do this together. And Yeh Ratzon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would be machzir us all b'tshuva shlema. When Yizkeh la'asot et Ratzono, we should do whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. ובמהרה בימינו תגאל ישראל ויבוא לציון גואל ויתקדש שם שמיים ברבים, אמן. שבת שלום.